Hey guys, Andre here. Today I want to show you this really cool trick that will make your Line 6 Helix sound so much better, or any other modeler. So when you're using distortion and you do some palm mutes, what happens is there's a huge bump in the low end and muddiness. Now you can be playing some metal chugga chugga, some rock riffs, or more importantly your guitar solos. As soon as you make a palm mute, all the problems will come up and we need to know how to fix them. And so the better way to show you this is go into the Logic session. So let's go. Okay, here we are in the Logic session. So let's see how can we get rid of all that low end and muddiness. Let's hear what I just recorded. So first of all, this is way more gain than I will ever use. But for these video purposes, I thought this will be the best way to show you how to do it. Now let's see what is happening here in this EQ and where is all the low end energy. So it's here between the 100 and 200 Hz. So let's see where exactly it is. There you go. So one thing we can do is, why don't we use this EQ to attenuate this frequency range? So let's do it. So it's working because all the low end is already gone. The problem is, first of all, this is sounding kind of weird. And the problem is when you're not doing palm mutes, you will miss a lot of the low end. Check this out. So it sounds weird, so it's not the perfect solution. It can help, but it's not the perfect solution. So if we can't use the EQ, what can we use? Now let's see, why not a compressor? Because the compressor will compress all these bumps, right? So let's see. So the compressor works, okay, it works. The problem is that this compressor is compressing all the frequency range, which is not exactly what I want, because a guitar signal that is already distorted, so with the distortion zone, it's already so compressed that the last thing you want to do is to compress it even more. So the perfect solution will be if we could compress only that area, the specific area where all that low end energy is happening. And thankfully we can do it with a multiband compressor. So the multiband compressor, you choose the band that you want to compress, and we compress only this area. So let's see. Now this is the perfect solution. You can hear clearly there is only compressing this area here where the problem is. Now what is really perfect about the multiband compressor is that when you're not playing palm mutes, you will not be compressing nothing. So let's hear this riff here that has a lot of palm mute and regular chords, and every time you see this moving is because it's compressing. If it's not moving, it's not compressing. So what we want to see is when there's palm mutes, this will be compressing. When there is no palm mutes, this will not be compressing. So let's hear it. Awesome, right? So as you can see, every time there's a palm mute, it compresses. When there is no palm mute, there's no compression. So perfect. Now let's try to go a step further and make this guitar tone sounding even better. So if you didn't saw the last video, you can go watch it. But let's do it the same thing here, which is trying to attenuate all the honkiness of the IR or guitar speaker. So this is the honkiness that I was talking about, that I hate to hear in a guitar tone. So let's attenuate this a bit. Oh, perfect. So let's hear it and compare it without the multiband compressor and the EQ, and then I will turn it on. So as you can hear, that's a huge improvement here, if you ask me. It sounds way better. That big bump in the low end area is gone. The muddiness is gone, and the honkiness is gone. So perfect. Now, how can we do this in the Helix? So let's jump to the Helix and see how can we do it. Here we are, not in the Helix, but in the Ajax Stomp, which is exactly the same thing. So let's hear my main tone. This is exactly the same tone that I used to track those guitars that you just heard in the Logic Pro session. And I already cutted some of the low end, which I already did too for that Logic session that you heard. So let's try to replicate the same thing that we did in the Logic Pro, but here in the Helix. So I'm using the 3-band comp. So it has 3 bands that we can compress it's like a multi-band compressor. It's a multi-band compressor. And so let's hear the difference here. So the snapshot 2 will turn on the compressor. Snapshot 1, the compressor is off. So let's hear the difference. So that's a big and a huge difference. Yeah, so you can hear clearly the low end is completely controlled by the compressor, or the multiband compressor. Now let's add the EQ, like we just did in the Logic session. Turn off. Oh my God, just hear the difference with this EQ. So no EQ, only the multiband compressor. And you hear how clear this is? Okay, there you go. Now let's put it just a little bit of delay and reverb. there you go. This is how you can make your Helix sound even better. Now, what I recommend to you is that you really understand how these things work. And so I just made this video here so you can understand in a very easy way how the compressor works, because once you understand how the tools works, it will be so much easier for you to craft all your tones and the tone that you hear in your head. So if you want to know how the things work, just go watch that video. If not, just copy the settings and you'll be good. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.